Beautiful Bombs. Hey, welcome to the first episode of Beautiful Bombs. I'm your host, Adam Marsland, and we're here to talk about some of the most unsuccessful and yet some of the finest singles in pop and rock music history. Songs that maybe you've never heard of, or even if you're a fan of the artist, you may have forgotten about. For the first episode, we go to one of the finest bands in 60s rock, the Byrds. Their 1967 single, Goin Back, written by Carole King and Gerry Goffin. In late 1967, the Byrds stood as one of the most influential bands in 60s rock. Echoes of their ethereal harmonies and their jangly 12-string electric guitar-driven sound could be heard everywhere, most notably as a direct influence on the Beatles. Meanwhile, the Byrds themselves were artistically expanding, but commercially and personally disintegrating. Their last superb single, which is another candidate for this show at some later date, was Lady Friend by rhythm guitarist David Crosby. Its commercial failure created tension within the band, tension that was only exacerbated when the other members decided they wanted to record Goin Back, a Carole King, Gerry Goffin tune that had been an overseas hit for Dusty Springfield the year before. Crosby felt that the wistful song about returning to one's roots and lost innocence was an artistic regression. He wanted to record a song called Triad, a song that was, about something a bit less innocent. When Crosby's bandmates thought that King's melancholy melody had more commercial potential than Crosby's exploits with two women, Crosby took a walk, leaving their current recording project, the adventurous and highly promising Notorious Byrd Brothers, half-recorded and in disarray. But wait, it gets even more chaotic. Drummer Michael Clarke also left the band during the recording, and many of the tracks were finished by session drummers until Clarke was brought back at the tail end and then dismissed once again. Meanwhile, Crosby's place was taken by founding member Gene Clark, whose wonderkind pop songwriting was a highlight of the band's first 2.5 albums. Clark's comeback lasted only 3 weeks, but it was long enough to do a memorable appearance on the Smothers Brothers Hour and perform backing vocals, probably, on their single, Goin Back. Now, what I love about Goin Back, which is a song that is so well regarded that it's been covered endlessly, including by Bruce Springsteen, The Pretenders, Freddie Mercury actually as well. It's just such a poignant lyric. It's something most of us can relate to, going back to a lost time in our lives. And the Byrds' approach with the winsome, dreamy sounding harmonies really underpinning that lyric and giving an extra dimension, a fifth dimension if you will, to what the lyrics are trying to say. It all really comes together, and all of the elements of the Byrds sound, both past and future, are there somewhere in the recording. You've got Roger McGuinn's classic trademark 12-string guitar, underpinnings of country rock, which is where they were going to go on their next album, which I think was supplied by future Byrds band member Clarence White. The harmonies, of course, just sublime, bringing out the latent emotion in the lyrics. It's just a wonderful track, and what makes it even cooler is you have a really strong pop sensibility coming through from Carole King's songwriting, and yet it was a period when Carole King was going through some stuff, and there was a lot of depth to her writing that went beyond what David Crosby dismissively called brill-building fluff. All of it comes together to make a classic lost single. And we shouldn't overlook producer Gary Usher, a man who got his start co-writing some of the Beach Boys' most enduring early tracks. There are so many subtle touches that contribute to its dreamy quality, from the single-note cello to the Celeste to Red Rhodes' mild-mannered steel guitar. It's a masterful example of evocative and restrained production choices. Despite being one of the finest and most affecting musical moments in a career that was full of them, Goin Back stalled at only number 89 in the American charts and didn't chart anywhere else. Meanwhile, the Notorious Byrd Brothers has been retrospectively acclaimed as one of the band's best, if not the best, album of their career. But it was a commercial disappointment as well, prompting even further changes in the band's direction as the group hooked up with Graham Parsons for their next album and basically invented country rock, with a little help from Mike Nesmith and a few other people, but we'll get to that in another show. As a failed single from a hit-making band that ranks among their very best, Goin Back is a prime example of a beautiful bomb. So that's it for the first episode of Beautiful Bombs. What are your favorite unsuccessful but great singles in pop and rock music history? I would love it if you would let me know in the comments, and I would also love it if you liked and subscribed to this channel to let me know that you want to see more episodes of Beautiful Bombs. And don't worry, I'm going to make some anyway. But keep in mind also, I too am a musician, and if you like the music that's featured on the show, you might enjoy hearing some of the things that I've been involved with. But either way, check the comment box. The first comment will have a link to the featured song in the show. Thanks very much for watching the first episode of Beautiful Bombs. I've been your host, Adam Marsland. Good night. Beautiful Bombs.